I'll give you a little heads up. I had this wonderful woman in the hallway this morning tell me how much she enjoys my jokes. And I said, well, I just need to warn you that today is a groaner. So that's just the tee up, just to prepare you. I can tell you're waiting with anxious anticipation. All right, so a man was eating in a fancy restaurant, and there was an attractive woman sitting at the table next to him, and he'd kind of been checking her out, but lacked the nerve to go talk to her. So suddenly she sneezed, and her glass eye flew out, I told you, toward the man, and with lightning speed and reflexes, he caught it midair. And so the woman got up from the table and went to him and said, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. She said as she put it back in, she goes, please let me have you over for dinner to make this up to you, because I know this really disrupted your dinner. And so she asked him over for dinner, and she said, what's your favorite dessert, and what do you really love? And so she spent a lot of time making this dinner. And so and the next day after the dinner, she sent him flowers just to thank him for coming over. And so the guy was amazed, and he said, you know, you are a really special woman. Are you this kind to every guy that you meet? And she said, no, you just happened to catch my eye. I told you. See, you're paving the way, because if you like groaners, there's going to be more coming. You're stuck with me. So hello, community. Yes, it feels so good to laugh, doesn't it? Because as many of you know, life has been a little intense for me lately. And for those of you that don't know, I wasn't here for the last 2 Sundays because my sister was killed in a car accident very suddenly. She was 5 years older than me, on September 28th. And so I, rushed to Charlotte to be with my mom, and I'm the only one left. So it's been a very intense couple of weeks, and I just really want to thank you for your love, because I know that Keisha put it in the newsletter. Actually, Edie wrote a really beautiful letter from the board. And just to let you know, because I wanted to let you know what was happening with me, and just so you could hold me. And not to, get into how horrible and terrible it is, because maybe we can go there. And yes, would it hurt my heart? Absolutely, beyond measure. And also, it was an opportunity for me to learn about what's true. And so I really just wanted to come this morning and share with you some of what I've learned, because you're my beautiful, amazing community, and we're on this journey together, aren't we? And I want to hear, about your journey and how you're growing and how you're expanding and deepening, and I want to share with you. So as you can tell, there's a theme called kindness this morning, and from the minute that I found out the news to, making my way to Charlotte in gale force winds, there was a hurricane. I thought my sister knows how to leave this world in a whirlwind. It was really interesting driving, but, I just kind of saw myself in light and made my way. And so on my way, actually before I left, I let some friends know, and so they could just hold me, because I just wanted to share what was happening so people could hold knowing with me and just see me completely infilled and surrounded with light as I navigated what was mine to do. So on my way down to Charlotte, where my family lives, my mother lives, in a nursing home there, a friend calls me on the phone, and of course I didn't even think about where I was going to stay, because I have to stay in a hotel when I go down that way. And so she said, I said, well, I was just going to pull off, and just, access hotels.com or whatever and book a hotel. She goes, that's ridiculous. I'm booking a hotel for you. And she paid for the first 4 days for me. So, and she goes, there's a woman named Carol at the desk. When you come in, she's looking for you. So I walk into the hotel, the Hyatt there and at the airport, and this woman, Carol, was behind the desk, and she was in a wheelchair. And she said, are you Cheryl? And I just went, okay, yes. And she goes, can I give you a hug? So she just, wheels down to the end, and she just stands up, and she just throws her arms around me, and she goes, here's a bottle of water. And she goes, do you drink beer? I said, actually. So she gave me little freebies, and about 3 days later, there was a card under my door from the staff. It just goes on, and I got flowers sent to my hotel room, and my sister was part of an evangelical church there, a big, huge church that has a sanctuary that holds 5,100. Oh, yeah. And it's full on Sunday mornings. And so I went and met with the minister there, and we planned this beautiful evangelical. It was really cool to be able to do that and just be there and know that it doesn't matter if maybe theologies might not be the same. What's true is our oneness. And so we planned this. It turned out to be this gorgeous service for my sister. My sister was a singer. She was a musician, and she taught preschool at the First Baptist Church there. And so we had lots of music, folks. It was rocking. We were rocking in that service. But my best friend came to be with me from Winston-Salem, and she had to go back before the whole thing of picking out the casket and all that. And as many times as I've been to a funeral, I've never had to do that. And I really wasn't missing anything in that experience. But another little angel from the church there said, Cheryl, and he was the operations facilities guy that took care of this huge facility. He said, how about I pick you up and take you there? I'll be with you. Yeah, so, and then one more thing I want to share with you is that when we were at the funeral, all of a sudden I looked up. This really checked me up. There were people from my high school that I haven't seen in 40 years that did not know my sister but came because they knew me. And people that came from a choir that I was in. And my sister had some hoarding issues, and so there were lots to clean up. And so these people who I had not seen in 40 years came and worked at the house to help me. See, I share these things with you, and there's so many more. There's just so many more. I share this with you because truly, as much as I love my sister and I miss her, the times that I wept the most was when people expressed their kindness. It just touched my soul. And so what I got to do was let it in. I got to let it in. I was reading Alan Cohen. I think you guys know that I love Alan Cohen, and he was talking about this very thing. He said he used to go visit his aunt, who was in a senior facility, like an apartment. And he goes, every time I would go visit my aunt, she would complain about the couch she was sitting on and how uncomfortable it was and how old it was and worn out it was. Because she would sit on it every day, and she'd watch her television shows. And so he goes, one day I went to see my aunt, and I said, okay, let's go to the furniture store, and I'm going to take you there, and we're going to buy a new couch. And you can pick it out. Doesn't matter how much it cost. And she said, oh, no, really, I don't want you to spend the money. This will do. And he said he left that meeting with his aunt just kind of feeling like, wow, I really wish that she had been able to receive my love in that way. See, folks, I don't know about you, but I was raised to be a strong girl. I was raised to be like, put your big girl pants up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just keep going. And don't really rely on anybody else. You need to just, to rely on yourself. You can do it by yourself. Okay, I see some heads nodding. Especially from the women in the audience. I don't know. And what else? And don't air your dirty laundry. Don't let anybody see, the things that are beyond the surface that might not look so pretty, like a house filled with things. Yeah. And so what I learned, and am learning still in this process, is that people want to give. We want to give. I think we're hardwired to give and be kind because we're hardwired because we're divine love. That's what we are. And so when we see someone on the journey that is struggling, that's grieving, that's having to do something that is a challenge, because, the thing about it, when somebody passes, you're busy. There's a lot of things to do, and you've got to keep going, right? And the grief just you put it over here and then you get to it later, sort of kind of thing. And so it's just such a lesson to me to be in this process and to allow people in, to really allow it. Because, folks, when we don't allow someone to give their kindness to us, we are not allowing them to give, and we're not getting, obviously. But we're thwarting that expression of love. But I think, too, some people hesitate to give in these kinds of situations because they feel awkward. They don't know what to do. Can you relate? Because, when someone's struggling with something, it doesn't have to necessarily be when someone passes. But people can feel very awkward, like, I don't know what to do. And so what we often will say is, let me know if you need anything. And I got to tell you, when you're in a swirl of a stressful situation, you don't know what you need. And maybe you do know what you need, but I know for myself, since I was a lot wired, not to receive help, I'm usually not going to ask. I'm getting better. But what I have learned about that is, instead of asking, let me know, or saying, let me know what you need, ask yourself, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And allow yourself to trust that and to extend. Because, see, I think we're also worried about how it's going to be received. Well, what if I goof? What if they don't want it? It's okay. You've reached out. And just in the reaching out is the gift, is the blessing. I love that verse from the Daily Word today from Ephesians that said, be kind to one another, tender-hearted. Because, folks, we just don't know what one gesture of tender-heartedness can make in someone's life. And I'm standing here in front of you today in my knowing more strongly, more deeply, because of the kindness that has been extended to me, and I mean that. So there's a story within a story that I found that I really want to share with you, because, it can be, we can reach out to people that we know, and maybe that can feel more comfortable. Sometimes maybe not, because it can feel a little bit more vulnerable. But also when we extend kindness to another person. And so I found this really beautiful story that I'm probably going to read to you because I don't want to miss any details of it. But it was from a teacher and blogger named Ken Wirt, who lives in California. And he shared this story within a story. So Ken was in his garage, and he noticed this trench coat that was in a ball in the corner and near the washing machine. I guess it never got in the washing machine. And it was raining in California, and it was unusually cold this particular day. And so he was driving home when he saw a man in a short-sleeved shirt wandering through his neighborhood pushing a shopping cart. And he was walking kind of painfully slow, and he was dripping wet. And so Ken paused at the intersection to his street and watched this man for several minutes, thinking. His heart was heavy, seeing him move so slowly and so wet and be so wet and so cold. And he suddenly remembered his crumbled up coat in the garage, but thought, what if I'm going to need that sometime in the future? And then this story came to him that he heard at a church conference. This is the story within the story. So 2 boys walked down a road that led through a field, and the younger of the 2 noticed a man toiling in the fields of his farm. His better clothes were stacked neatly off to the side, and the younger boy looked at his older friend and said, "Let's hide his shoes so when he comes from the field, he won't be able to find them. The look on his face will be really funny." And the boy laughed. But the older of the 2 boys thought for a moment and said, "No, this man doesn't appear to have much money. See his clothes? Let's do this instead. Let's hide a silver dollar in each shoe, and then we'll hide in these bushes and see how he reacts to that instead." So the younger companion agreed to the plan, and they placed a silver dollar in each shoe and hid behind the bushes. It wasn't long before the farmer came in from the field, tired and worn, and he reached down and he pulled on a shoe, immediately feeling the money under his foot. With the coin now between his fingers, he looked around to see who could have put it there, but he saw he was alone. So he held the dollar in his hand and stared at it in disbelief. And confused, he slid his other foot into the other shoe and felt the second coin. And this time the man was overwhelmed when he removed the second silver dollar from his shoe. And thinking he was alone, he dropped to his knees and offered a verbal prayer that the boys could easily hear from their hiding place. And they heard the farmer cry tears of relief and gratitude. He spoke of his sick wife and his boys that were in need of food, and he expressed gratitude for this unexpected bounty from unknown hands. And after a time, the boys came out from their hiding place and slowly started their long walk home in silence. And they felt good inside, warm, changed somehow, knowing that the good they had done really made a difference for someone in need. And a smile just swept over their souls. And so Ken drove home, took his coat from the garage, and went looking for the man in the rain. And he spotted him, and he hadn't gone very far. The rain had let up a little bit. And Ken pulled over alongside him and asked him to come over to the car. And the man hesitated, but walked a little closer, and Ken asked if he had a place to stay, and he said yes, he was close by it. And Ken offered him his jacket. And the man looked stunned, like he was kind of violating some accepted code of conduct, and Ken urged him to take it. "Please take it." And the man slowly reached out and took his coat, and he smiled, and so did Ken. And so Ken just started putting his thoughts together. And he said, we all have farmers toiling in the fields along the roads of our lives, and their challenges might not be known to us, but their countenance often tells the story. We have opportunities to hide shoes or hide silver dollars in them. So that day, this time, Ken removed a silver dollar from the floor of the garage and slipped it in that old man's shoe. His life was blessed. And he felt like the man that's wearing the coat was also blessed. See, folks, when we give from the love that we are in kindness and compassion, we cannot help but be transformed. We cannot help but be blessed. But what is ours to do is we get to pay attention. We get to pay attention because we can be so busy in our lives, can't we? With our heads down and we got to get through life. We just get to pay attention and to look around us. What's happening in your office? What's happening in this community? I promise you there's someone in this community that could use your love. I promise you there's someone in your office that could use a touch. I promise. And I also promise that if you reach out and you give and the gift is received, you will be so blessed. There's a quote that said, there's nothing we can really do. There's nothing we can really do about the length of our life. But there's a lot we can do about the depth and the width of it. And so I just invite you to reach out and touch this week. And of course, I'm feeling compelled to sing. Will you sing with me? Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can. Reach out and touch. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can. So this week, absolutely. So this week, I just invite you to pay attention and to extend and to reach out and touch and to allow yourself to be blessed, to be the blessing, because you are. You are divine love and expression, and that gift is amazing. So let's affirm together our affirmation. When I reach out, I make a difference and know myself more fully as divine love. I am blessed to be the blessing. Yes, you are.